Today we're going to talk popping corks. You can see here I have an abundance of popping corks. Okay, this is a collection of popping corks that I just have come to collect, and it's grown over a 3 or 4 year time frame, I guess. So this is part of my collection here. Also, we have another bag of a bunch of different popping corks, and this ain't including the popping corks that are actually in my tackle boxes, and I have some more spare ones. So I do have an abundance of popping corks. But what I wanted to talk about today is some of the different variations, some of the different corks that are out there. So if you're new to fishing saltwater, if you're new to fishing on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, maybe fishing on the Gulf Coast in general, you'll see every boat that you see drive by a lot of times has numerous popping corks tied onto them, and that's for good reason. You can do extremely well fishing under a popping cork in saltwater in the South, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, Florida, you name it. It's a vital tool to catch and fish a lot of times for guys. Some people are not big fans of popping corks. They like more the jigging. They like more working lures, which that's completely understandable. At times I'm the same way. I'll kind of get worn out on the cork fishing, but I find on the hotter months out the year that the popping cork seems to work a little better as far as being able to keep if you're fishing live bait or even artificials. You can keep it in a strike zone, keep it in a better strike zone. This time of year, it's August now, with the weather so hot, you get a lot of the bait robbers, we call them, pinfish, catfish, and things like that. So if you're able to keep that bait or lure off the bottom, a lot of times it'll keep you away from some of those guys from stealing your bait. But not all the time. It helps a little bit, but sometimes those bait robbers are gonna get you no matter what. But enough of that. So I just want to go over a couple different styles and a couple different popping corks that we see and are used in this general area on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, right? So the first one I want to show you guys is the cork I mentioned in my first video from High Water Lures out of Louisiana. So this is very similar to the Four Horsemen cork. It's got the 2 beads up top here. Makes a lot of noise when popped. It's got the wire leader running through it, with 2 barrel swivels on each end. So let me pull out a couple other ones here. Like you got the Four Horsemen right here. Pretty similar setup to the high water cork. I'll tell you the difference between these two, and I guess it just depends on your preference, but the difference between the high water and the Four Horsemen that I've noticed here, the leader running through here on this is a steel. It's a little bit stiffer, and it doesn't have as much flex to it, and there's people that I know that fish that actually like that. You notice on the high water cork, you got a little more flexibility. I actually prefer a little more flexibility. I feel like I can get a little bit more action when I'm popping the cork, but that's just a preference. You go in Louisiana, Four Horsemen is pretty much the go-to for popping corks all throughout Louisiana. It's an extremely good cork. You don't see them break down too often. I'd say the only thing that over time does happen is the paint will wear off on, and that's on most corks. I mean, it's the abuse that they take as far as hitting the water so often, hitting structure, the popping action, dealing with the fish, hitting it at times. It will lose some of its paint. But that's a small price to pay for what you're getting out of it. It's an extremely good tool to catch fish in the South. All right, so covered these two. Let's dig in the bag here and see what else we have here that I want to cover. So you have another popular cork is the Boat Monkey Float company. This is popular. I know they use them in Louisiana. We also use them in Mississippi. When I came back to South Mississippi and started saltwater fishing years back, this was kind of new. This was kind of the go-to for a lot of folks, and it's still a go-to for a lot of folks. It makes a lot of noise. It gives you a variety of styles, just like most do. But here's the traditional cup cork by Boat Monkey Float. And similar, this is more the long, skinny one. And I'm not a big fan of fishing this style. I just find that it kind of lays on its side at times. It doesn't want to float straight up and down. Now that could just be me. It could just be how I'm fishing it, but I have noticed that with that, if the bait and lure is not heavy enough to kind of keep it pulled down and keep it floating right, it sometimes wants to lay on its side. So when that fish pulls it, it's kind of hard to see. It'll kind of drag. Another, like I said, Boat Monkey cup cork, very similar to the high water and the Four Horsemen cork, right? Used to fish this Boat Monkey Float extensively before I kind of flexed out into the Four Horsemen, the high water. It's got that thicker steel rod, steel leader, running through the cork. It's got some beads on it. You know, nothing bad to say about it. It's got the barrel swivels. They're very similar. A lot of these cork companies now are making corks that are very similar. You know, once one came out, a lot of other ones kind of picked up their style that was popular and kind of ran with it. You know, so very similar, like I said, to the high water Four Horsemen cork. Really good cork. So if you haven't tried yet, the Boat Monkey Float corks, they're for sale and all over South Mississippi. I'm not sure in Louisiana where you could specifically pick these up, but I imagine you could find them. They're pretty popular corks, and like I said, nothing durable, nothing bad to say about them. So if you are looking for cork, Boat Monkey, Four Horsemen, high water lure cork, all good grades. Never had really any issues per se with any of these. So if you're looking for this style cork, any of those three can be a go-to. So here, let's take a look at another Four Horsemen. This is a brand new one. I haven't used yet, but this is one thing I'll say. You know, if you have noticed, depending on your eyesight, depending on what you see well when you wear glasses, and they make numerous different colors. So depending on what you like to see when you're out there casting in the sun. I know for me, I like fishing with more of an orange, more of this bright orange color, just due to the fact that sometimes I have trouble seeing it in the sun. So many different colors you can choose from. This is, like I said, another Four Horsemen. This is a brand new one. You can see how nice and bright it is. It hasn't been used, hasn't been beat up yet, but yeah, like I said, numerous colors for you to choose from. Let's take a look at a couple of these other corks here that you'll see at Academy, different places. This is an H&H cork. That's similar to the Four Horsemen, the high water, and the Boat Monkey, but it's got more of a thick leader, monofilament type line running through it, through this cork. So it has a lot of flex. Now, reason I wanted to bring this cork up, because when this cork came out, I was excited just because of its flexibility, and I thought it could be, you know, something a little different than what the corks, the other ones we've seen. This is just my opinion on it and my feedback. I didn't have great luck with this cork. The H&H version, because of the flex as I was casting, because of, you can see kind of the big clips there on the edges there. I had problems with this cork catching my line and getting twisted up and getting tangled. So it may work. It may work for you at the time. I think I was fishing with monofilament, so maybe you get a different experience with fishing with braid. But I mean, I really tried to last with it, and left it on for probably 3 or 4 trips, just because I wanted to give it a fair shake. I really wanted to give it a fair shake, and it just continued to tangle up on me, continued to give me issues. And because of the flex, a lot of times it would flex so much and it would just really twist. So not telling you not to go purchase it, just giving you my feedback on this H&H cork. Okay, let's talk Versamax. So Versamax as well is very popular in the state of Louisiana. I personally don't use the Versamax corks too often, not too much at all. One plus about the Versamax though, that you hear the guys rave about in Louisiana and all across the Gulf Coast, is you see here on the end, it gives you the ability to extend your leader line as needed. So you would wrap it around here, you know, get your line here, then you would click it in, there, and once it's clicked in, you know, you can adjust as you unwrap if you want more line or wrap up more line there on that clip, and you can clip it. So it just gives you some flexibility if, you know, if the fish are at a different water column, you need to add some leader, or, you know, take some away. So that's the big plus about using the Versamax corks. I've used them a couple times. Nothing really negative to say about them, nothing really positive to say about them, but I will tell you, if you're looking for an option out there that allows you to adjust your leader line, this would be one of the go-to, you know, more new style, you know, corks that a lot of guys have went through in the last 10 years or so. Now, let me show you another cork that allows you to do that, but it's kind of more of what we call as old school cork. You can get these through, this is through H&H. Now this right here is what you'll hear guys refer to as an old school cork. I did grow up as a child in Louisiana, fishing these corks. It was either you were fishing this or the old styrofoam ones with the stick through the middle, and you wrapped it a couple times. But this was the preference from my father. He liked us to use these. You know, you got some people that aren't big fans of them. I'll tell you what, I always enjoyed them for the most part. At times they would wrap and get tangled a little bit, but overall I had a pretty good experience with these corks. Just like the Versamax though, one great thing about this cork is you had the ability to adjust. You see there with your clips there on the end of the top. See if I can get that in the camera for you guys. Top and bottom, where you're able to adjust your line, so the height of your lure to fish shallow, fish deeper. So that was one plus about this cork, and I still use this cork style cork to this day. There's times when I like that flexibility depending on where I'm fishing, especially if I'm fishing for speckled trout and I'm looking to fish in an area where I'm not quite sure the depth of the trout. It could be up on a flat, it could be dropped off on a ledge. So I'll keep this cork handy at times, and I'll prep the night before and have this cork ready to go. And you know, like I said, I still use it. And I'll tell you what, in the noise that these corks make, that rattle with the beads inside of it, man, at times I think it's still louder than the Four Horsemen and the High Water and those guys. So old school, but you know, like they say, sometimes old school, if it works, don't change it. So this has been a go-to on and off for me for years, and it was the #1 go-to back in the day. One downfall I'll say, a lot of guys nowadays, they do like to fish leaders, you know, tie on that, you know, 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, whatever. You can fish that with this. You can fish that, but depending on how long your leader is and how many wraps you got to make on this cork, you may not have enough leader line in the length, you know, the length that you want for this cork to be able to work. So it does have its hang-ups at times with the style of fishing a lot of guys do today. Also with braid, it doesn't snap and stay real well with braid at all. So that's the other thing. If you're a braid guy, strictly a braid guy, and I am a braid guy for the most part nowadays. I do fish some monofilament, but it really doesn't stay clipped on braid well, and so that's another downfall of it. Fluorocarbon monofilament, that's really your go-to with these style corks. All right, that's enough of the old school cork, right? All right, I did want to show this is the 4 Horsemen, right? I don't think we talked about one of these yet. So this is a 4 Horsemen cork, but it's egg-shaped. You know, some guys prefer fishing with the egg-shaped cork. I personally prefer the cup, the cupped cork. But as you can see, I have used the egg-shape quite a bit. It does its job. It does extremely well. I find, like the boat monkey cork at times, this one that we referred to earlier, at times I noticed this as well, will sometimes not want to lay flat down. But that sometimes kind of has to do, like I said, with the weight of your lure, what kind of bait you're using, the tide, is the tide pulling it, or you letting it free float. So there's a lot that goes into that. So I don't want to talk necessarily down about these corks from 4 Horsemen, because I've had a lot of luck with them. I've done extremely well with them. As you can see how much it's beat up. It's worked for me extremely well. I just saying, if I had a choice, I'd definitely go with the cup version of the 4 Horsemen before I would go with the egg-shape, but you know, it's a close second. So let's also cover a little bit more old school as well, and we'll cover the light up one last. So yeah, let's talk about the old school clip-on styrofoam. This is Billy Bay, the Billy Bay cork, but H&H makes these. A lot of different companies make these old school clip-on corks here. You see a lot of this used in freshwater for you know, perch and different things like that, bluegills and all. So that's where you see a lot of these clip-on corks, and honestly, that's where I first started using them. But you will see guys, and I've seen charter fishermen actually like to use these clip-on corks at time for live bait. They like that. They like this ability to be able to adjust, clip on, off, slide the leader, and that flexibility for them, especially if they're charter fishing and kind of need to adjust to the level of fishermen that's on the boat, and you need to adjust for the day. So this is still a real good option for folks out there that are looking for some flexibility on their leader lines. And you know, a lot of folks still don't use leader lines. So a lot of folks just will tie, you know, straight on 15-pound monofilament straight to your hook. You clip this puppy on here, toss you a live bait under this sucker, and let it float. Downfall for this cork though, as much as I do like using these, they're a little light. Okay, so sometimes you can't get that distance you need to cast them. As well as I've noticed when you do tend to cast these with some you know, with some oomph behind it, these little clips here and clips on top here. Let me see if I can get that a good view here for you guys. The clips on top there. They'll slide. Sometimes they'll tend to slide. That's why you have to sometimes wrap it around the hook a couple times to get it to stick. I've had trouble before where I didn't want to stay clipped. They slid up and down the line and sometimes, so it can be a pain in the butt at times, depending on your situation. Now, when I like using these is when I'm fishing around like some rock jetties, some structure where it ain't too much wind in play. You don't have to worry about a big heavy weighted cork. Get yourself a live bait under this cork, clip it on, and you just kind of nice and easy. You're just tossing that cork, letting it drift right along that rock jetty, that structure that you might be fishing, and let the live bait go to work. That's when I really like using these. You know, it's easy on the arm. You ain't gotta sling it out there so hard, and you know, put so much behind it. So old school, but still serves its purpose. These used to not be as popular back when I was coming up, but as times have changed and really fishing, and let me show you that. You untwist it is to let the battery not touch, and then when you see the battery actually touches the connection, and it turns that light on. And this one works, the circle float works the same way. There's no batteries in this one. I think I had to take them out, maybe use them in a different cork. But yeah, you can get these at Walmart. It was I guess night fishing, especially in Mississippi, when that night fishing is pretty popular here. Especially as it's so hot, and you see a lot of guys pier fish at night. A lot of guys will try to fish under the lights on the Ocean Springs Bridge and just different locations. Yeah, so I've noticed that growing up in Louisiana, the light up corks weren't as popular, but I think just in general nowadays, people tend to fish more and tend to fish whenever they can, depending on their job and what they got going on. So I've seen a lot more folks use the light up corks fishing at night, and I've actually used them a few times. There was an instance where I was trying to do some night fishing because of the situation and the way that the bait and fish were at the time, and I had the opportunity to use both of these, and they worked pretty well. It's a little different how you hook it on. You kind of clip it onto your line like that. It's not one that you're going to get out there and be able to get a lot of casting distance behind, but usually at nighttime you're not dealing with any high winds or anything, any craziness. So let's do a quick recap real quick. I know we covered a lot of corks. Let's see here. Start off with the traditional types you see a lot of guys use nowadays, right? The four Horsemen, the boat monkey, high water. You know, that's your traditional corks for the most part that you see the majority of folks using nowadays here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Not everyone. There's still a lot of different selection out there. There's a lot of different types. I probably have another 8 to 10 different style corks that I could go over if we had the time. But you kind of get the gist of it. What they're all about, what styles they had. But yeah, I mean, if you're kind of new to saltwater fishing, new to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, that's kind of your options there. Some of your options as far as on the popping cork goes, and we'll cover another tutorial kind of like this, and we'll discuss more of how to fish the popping cork. When to use live bait under it, when to use artificials under it. So we'll cover more with the popping cork. I just kind of wanted to start here as a base and show folks that maybe that are just getting into it, the options that you have for fishing, options that you have if you want to fish popping corks. And I know I've talked to many folks when they get down here, they see a lot of guys using the popping corks and they've never used them before. So that's their first questions. Where can I get it? How do I fish it? So so we'll end it there. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, if you don't mind hitting the like button, if you don't mind subscribing to the channel, I'd appreciate that, and you could turn on the notifications.